The sages say that our world is sustained on three things. In Pirkei Avot, a classic Jewish text from the Mishnah that has short teachings from ancient rabbis, it is written that Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says, "On three things does the world stand: al hadin, ba'al ha'emet, ba'al ha'shalom." On justice, as in courts of justice, our Noahide obligation, on truth, and on peace. Before we move on, I just want to clarify this Hebrew word for justice that we're using here, din. In past videos, we've explored the Hebrew word mishpat and how it's justice to save. Here, though, the word is din, and it usually refers to a court or its proceedings, its judgments, its rulings. My understanding is that the Hebrew word din is something that performs mishpat. So the court performs justice, which is mishpat. So anyway, what does Rabban Gamliel mean by these three things? We'll go through each briefly, and then we'll specifically focus on justice. And by the end of this video, you'll see how much God loves justice, and for good reason. First, the commentaries note that these three things were not the reasons why the world was created, but they are the things keeping society from moral and social collapse. They are the things on which society endures. Now, there are many commentaries on Rabban Gamliel's statement, and they can get very deep. In this video, we're just going to focus on one commentary, specifically the Choshen Mishpat and Arba'at Turim. Arba'at Turim is a foundational book of Jewish law, and it has 4 sections, Arba'a meaning 4. Choshen Mishpat is one of those sections, and it deals with courts and judges and all that legal stuff. The first chapter in Choshen Mishpat specifically is cited by the Divine Code regarding our Noahide commandment for dinim, justice. And I think it's a good idea for us to go into this text to better understand our Noahide obligation. So the three things briefly. First, the world is sustained by judges who judge between man and man. Because were it not for judgment, the stronger would prevail, the powerful would steal, exploit, murder, violence, and there would be no structure to stop them. When strength and power replaces justice, the world slides back into chaos. Second, the world is sustained on truth. Now it's interesting that the Hebrew letters for truth and falsehood signal this idea. I'll mention briefly that if you look at the Hebrew letters of truth, emet, and falsehood, sheker, you'll see that the letters of sheker only have one contact point with the line. They're basically just standing on one foot, so to speak. Whereas emet, truth, these letters have multiple contact points with the line. The first and last letter have 2 contact points with the line, and the middle letter has full contact points with the line. So the sages say that this is because truth stands eternal and falsehood does not stand eternal. The letters in emet have a stable foundation, a stable base. Whereas the letters in sheker, you can just flick it and they all fall over. So unlike falsehood, truth is a stable foundation and a great support for all things. The third thing that keeps society from collapsing is peace. Indeed, Pirkei Avot 3 verse 2 says, "One should pray for the peace of the government, for were it not for the fear of government, people would swallow each other alive." So without justice, truth, and peace, our world would be anarchical and full of danger. Now before we analyze justice even further, the Choshen Mishpat doesn't make this connection, but I find it interesting that justice, truth, and peace are essentially the foundations of our Noahide laws. They correspond to what we outlined in our Wise Noahide philosophy videos. Justice obviously corresponds to courts of justice, truth corresponds to idolatry, blasphemy, and immoral relations, and peace corresponds to murder, theft, and animal cruelty. Anyway, moving on. So justice, specifically courts of justice. The Talmud makes a remarkable statement. It says, "Any judge who judges a true judgment truthfully, even for a short period of time, is considered as though he became a partner with God in creation." Where did the sages get that from? Well, first, the Torah mentions that Moses sat to judge the people from the morning until the evening. But the Talmud asks, can this verse really imply that Moses spent the entire day judging cases, from morning all the way to evening? If so, when did he study Torah? When did he engage with the divine instruction that he was responsible to receive and to teach? Moses' judgments were not just personal opinions. They had to be rooted in God's law and the Torah. He must know the Torah. So the verse can't mean that Moses spent his entire day in court. Instead, the sages understand that this verse is teaching something about the spiritual weight of judgment. Even one focused period of truthful judgment is treated as though it fills the entire day, from morning until evening. Then the Talmud goes even deeper. It connects Moses' judgment to the story of creation through a hermeneutical principle called Gezerah Shava, literally a decree of equivalence. A Gezerah Shava connects 2 Torah passages that share the same word or phrase, which then allows one passage to illuminate the other passage. And this hermeneutical principle was passed down from Moses at Mount Sinai. But unlike a simple logical argument, like some of the other hermeneutical principles that can be applied by anybody, this one, Gezerah Shava, depends on a received tradition. In this case, though, the shared language is morning and evening. When Moses judges the people, it says from morning to evening. And for creation, the Torah says, and it was evening and it was morning, one day. So creation is evening, morning, Moses is morning, evening. So from this parallel, they teach that judgment isn't just a legal act, but it's also a creation-preserving act. God created the world to endure as an ordered, moral world, a place where humans can live with responsibility and trust, being able to fulfill commandments. But wicked people who steal, exploit, and use violence undermine that original purpose. They destroy the social and moral order that allows the world to function as it was intended. Indeed, the generation of the flood shows this clearly. Our sages teach that although the generation of the flood committed many sins, the final decree against them was sealed because of theft. The Torah says, "For the earth was filled with Hamas." That word is often translated as violence, but it could also mean robbery, theft, and extortion. People taking what is not theirs by force or intimidation. And afterward, God says, "I will destroy them with the earth." He's destroying creation. So a judge who stops the wicked from their theft and violence completes the will of God by keeping the world going, allowing the world to endure as God had intended. In this way, judges become partners with God in creation. Without the judges, creation would collapse back into chaos. It'd be destroyed. And we see how much God wants us to perform justice through the reason why he chose Abraham. He didn't choose Abraham only because Abraham was the first monotheist in a world of polytheism. He specially recognized Abraham and called him my beloved because Abraham walked in the ways of justice, Mishpat, and he guided his children in it. For I have known him, because he will command his children and his household after him, that they will keep the way of the Lord to do righteousness and justice. And this last phrase is crucial, righteousness and justice. They frequently occur together. They're like a word pair. Righteousness is frequently paired up with justice. So Abraham's mission wasn't just to be a monotheist who believes in God, but it was also to build a household and eventually a people that were committed to righteousness and justice. And this continues through Israel's greatest leaders. Moses accepted Jethro's advice to appoint judges over the people so that justice would not depend on one person, him, Moses, alone. Joshua, near the end of his life, renewed the covenant with Israel to serve God, and the verse says that he established for them a statute and a judgment, using the same word, mishpat, justice. And this is all because justice is the foundation of serving God. Without justice, we can't even begin to serve God because society would be in chaos. It's extremely difficult to think about God and serve God when you're having to worry about chaos. And so this justice as a foundation is in part why Samuel, the great prophet Samuel, was also a judge. The book of Samuel says that Samuel judged Israel all the days of his life, traveling from place to place to bring judgment to the people. And the righteous kings of Israel are described the same way. David did justice and righteousness for his people. Solomon, when God offered him a gift, asked God above all for a wise and understanding heart to judge the people properly. And God was pleased with that request and granted it to him. King Jehoshaphat appointed judges in the cities of Judah and told them, "See what you are doing, for you do not judge for man, but for the Lord. And he, the Lord, is with you in the matter of judgment." This is an extraordinary statement. A judge is not merely deciding between two private parties. He is carrying out a divine responsibility. It's for God, and God is with us in judgment. In another video, we also talked about King Josiah, another great king. He returned to judge his past judgments in the light of the Torah. And this theme continues all the way until the future King Messiah. Isaiah says he shall judge the poor with righteousness and decide with fairness for all the humble of the earth. So from Abraham to Moses, from Joshua to Samuel, from David and Solomon to the future Messiah, we see the same theme. Justice is a foundation of serving God. And because justice is so essential to sustaining the world, the reward for upholding it is enormous. But the opposite is also true. The punishment for delaying justice, corrupting justice, or neglecting justice is also severe. If a truthful judge is considered like a partner with God in creation, Then a corrupt judge does the opposite. He unravels the moral order that creation was meant to establish. As Pirkei Avot 5 verse 8 says, the sword comes to the world because of delayed justice and perverted justice, and because of those who teach Torah not in accordance with accepted law. When justice breaks down, violence follows. Destruction comes from the lack of law and the perversion of law. Look what also David says in a psalm. I have done justice and righteousness, so leave me not to my oppressors. His words imply that if he had not done justice, he would have been left in the hands of his oppressors. The implication is powerful. Justice protects society from oppression. And the prophets say that Jerusalem itself was destroyed and Israel exiled because justice had collapsed. Isaiah says she was full of justice, righteousness lodged in her. But now, murderers. A city once defined by justice became a city of violence. So again, the theme, when justice is upheld, society can endure. When justice is corrupted, society begins to fall apart. So hopefully we see now how absolutely crucial justice is to God first and foremost, but also to creation and society. Creating a just world is how we become partners with God. And being a partner with God is the best relationship we can ask for. We become partners with Him by preserving the moral order of creation. And so this is in part why Rabban Gamliel said that the world is sustained on three things: justice, truth, and peace. If justice is done, truth is upheld. And when truth is upheld, peace becomes possible. As the prophet Zechariah says, truth and judgment of peace shall you judge in your gates. Justice, truth, and peace are the foundation on which the world endures. Thank you for watching.